Hi, I'm Morten Solvik, Vice President of Mahler Foundation and host, writer, and producer of the Mahler Hour, where we bring you the personalities, places, and projects happening right now in the Mahler community around the world. Last month, we took a look at online resources around Mahler's life and works. My guest for the show, Christian Utz, President of the International Gustav Mahler Society, took us on a tour of some remarkable websites, including a number of comprehensive projects currently being carried out by the Mahler Society itself. Remember, you can see this show and all past Mahler Hours on our website and on our YouTube channel. This episode of the Mahler Hour, entitled Gustav Mahler and the Netherlands, is helping us turn our attention to the upcoming Mahler Festival at the Concertgebouw in Amsterdam next month. It is also an important topic in any consideration of Mahler's life and the title of a newly published book. Joining me today to discuss all of this will be Eveline Nikkels, Chair of the Dutch Gustav Mahler Foundation. Before we get to the details, let me remind everyone attending live to post any questions you might have to the comments section. We will get to these at the end of our show. Don't forget to include your name and the country you're writing from. Also, the Mahler Hour is brought to you by Mahler Foundation. So if you want to support our activities, please become a member. Just go to our website at mahlerfoundation.org for all of the details. So let's get right to it. Joining me today for our topic on Mahler and the Netherlands is an old friend, Eveline Nikkels. Eveline, welcome back to the show.
Well,
Well, we can
yeah,
hear you, but we can't see you.
yes, here I
There you
am.
are. Hi.
It's so difficult. There's small things to push on, but I'm happy. Here I am.
Well, welcome, welcome. You're the chair of the Dutch Gustav Mahler Foundation, and as such, an important figure in the Mahler world in Holland. Tell us a little bit about your activities.
Well, it's funny because you see Gustav Mahler Stichting in the Netherlands, but I did not start directly with this firm. I organized for several years small congresses, well, not so small, but congresses combined with a masterclass. And the first one I organized was a very important one, I think. It was in 1986, and it was around the 10th Symphony, which at that time was still, very insecure if you could yes or no play it. And we had the possibility of bringing three different versions. And somehow it seems as if it was a kind of contaminated, because one of the conductors fell down the stairs and an compist died. So it it was not a good omen, but it was a large success, and we published a very important book on it called Purgatorio, I think.
Proceedings.
Proceedings, yes,
Yes.
proceedings. And well, it's sold out now. But we were so happy because from all over Europe and the US, people came and talked. And we were wondering what would have happened if we did not do this Congress. And then I had a Congress on the 7th. I had one on, very important, on the 8th. It was 100 year of Concertgebouw and Orchestra. And then I moved on finally to the big Mahler Festival of 95. And in between, I became chair of the Mahler Society. So I have a lot of Mahler identifications.
Well, you were also, it's quite wonderful. You were also recognized by the king. You were made Dame Eveline in sort of a thanks from the Netherlands for this kind of work. It says a lot about your work, but also about the receptiveness of this kind of work in Holland.
Yeah, well, it's just by chance that today is King's Day. So many years ago, he offered me this. And I started as a normal member. And then between my husband and Bernard Haitink, they decided I deserved better, and I became a dame. So now I'm very proud of being a dame. It sounds so nice. And in German, it's even nicer. It's Frau Ritterin.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's very nice. Is this an indication of the importance of music, yes, or Mahler, or both to Dutch society?
Well, it is because, as I told you, all the different ways of my approach to Mahler, and I worked together with Bernard Haitink on the beginning of the Mahler Festival of '95. We worked out the original plan, and then we went with it to Martijn Sanders, and all these things combined made it clear that I deserved, well, not me, but as a Mahlerian, I deserved apparently a kind of well, a medal.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, there it is.
This is this is what. Oh, this is the second one. This is Frau Ritterin.
Oh, wonderful.
And this you would not know this. This looks more like Bruckner, but if you turn it around, it's Mahler. But like this, it's more like Bruckner. Well, you know, I love Bruckner as well. So this is the Bruckner, and if you turn it to the side, it's Mahler.
I see. Wonderful. Well, we're going to talk more about Mahler and Dutch society, but we want to go a little bit further back. We'll talk, of course, about the festival that's upcoming, but we want to look at, in the larger context, the reception of Mahler in the Netherlands. And of course, we probably need to start with Willem Mengelberg, don't we?
Yes,
tell us a little bit about him.
Well, it was very. Let us start with a date, with a year. We start in 1902 when Willem Mengelberg went to Krefeld to the premiere of the Third Symphony. At the same time, there was another conductor, Dutch conductor, Huike Roth. So imagine in an unknown piece in an unknown city with a still unknown composer for Dutch ideas, and two people came in and fell in love immediately when they heard the first notes of the Third Symphony. They were flabbergasted, and both of them thought, we have to bring this symphony to Amsterdam. And Mengelberg was very clever, and he said, I can bring this symphony, but I must also bring the composer as a conductor. So
let's listen to the first. Let's listen to those first two notes of the Third Symphony. So they were captivated.
Oh, immediately, yes. Well, and not only, but also by the largeness of the orchestra and the sound. This is, I remember when we had the Mahler Festival in '95, this was the introduction music as on the radio. And it's, I can imagine, if you have never heard any note of Mahler, you know that Mengelberg, he knew some of the scores, but he did not have met him in person. And it was a love on first sight of the music. And afterwards, they became very, very friendly. And Mahler felt very much at home here. And that's not only because of Mengelberg, but all of the people surrounding Mengelberg. He had a kind of groupie. He had a kind of group of people who loved him, really, who started to love him.
Can you tell me a little bit, but who was Mengelberg? I mean, we need to know a little bit more about his position. We haven't talked about who he is.
No, well, who he was. Well, he was young. He was determined to be a star. And he had a funny thing about it. If he started conduct, I hope you can hear it. If you listen to a recording of Mengelberg, you will always hear that.
I can't hear.
Oh, you can't. Well, this is, and he sticks first 3 times before, and that meant that there's no possibility of any member of the orchestra to do something he did not like. He was almost like Mahler.
So I'm going to say it. He was the director of the Concertgebouw Orchestra. We haven't said that yet. We need to be very explicit about who he was.
Yeah, no, he was both. He was of the Concertgebouw and later also of the orchestra and of the building, which of course was very difficult. But he was a very important figure. And at the end, before the war came, he was even considered more important than at that time the Queen. So this says us something about the stature he had. And he was not so big, but he had a sturdy figure. And when he moved his hands, you just, like with Mahler, you had to do what he wanted you to do. So they were very congenial.
He not only invited Mahler to come conduct in Amsterdam, and Mahler said he would. He invited Mahler to stay with him and his wife in their home. And there's a lovely letter. There's a lovely letter that Mahler accepted, because he did not like staying in hotels. He stayed in them far too often. And he wrote the following lines: "Let me take this opportunity to tell you once again how delightful the beautiful days spent in your dear wife's company were, and that I have the feeling that a second home has originated for me in Amsterdam, thanks to your friendly care and your profound artistic understanding."
Isn't it beautiful? But
Yes.
it was like that. But in the beginning, when he first went to Mengelberg, he didn't want to stay there because in the room there were all kind of controversial things from his father, from Mengelberg's father, on the walls, and he hated it. And he said, "Can I not go to a hotel?" And Mengelberg said, "No, of course not. You are my guest." And this is something. And if each time he tried for a hotel and said, "I bring my wife, can we not go to a hotel?" "No, you stay with me."
Yeah.
Well, who was the bigger pressure? I mean, they were both, they were friends, but they were on their own. They were geniuses with music.
There's another person here that we must mention in this context, and that is Alphons Diepenbrock, who was a composer, a conductor, a writer. And in this very same letter, Mahler writes sort of like a little added at the bottom of the letter: "Give my regards to Diepenbrock, whom I became very fond of as well." And so it's these two. We actually have a photo of Mahler at the Concertgebouw. Let's have a look at them, because here we'll see Mengelberg and Diepenbrock and Mahler and two other gentlemen.
Oh, fantastic.
From the Concertgebouw. And this is the beginning, this is 1909, but 1903, the first time he comes, is really the beginning of a very important friendship. And we have accounts of them taking walks together, etc. We have another photo, I think, with the three of them
walking. That's very famous.
We'll see that a little bit later. Can you tell us a little bit about Alphons Diepenbrock, because he figures prominently here too?
Well, this is very interesting because we start with the friendship between Diepenbrock and Mahler, but it was not that. He got an invitation, Diepenbrock, from a friend to go to the premiere of the Mahler Third in Amsterdam. And he wrote to his friends, and he was very Nietzschean in thinking. He said, oh no, I'm not coming, because I'm sure that I'm sorry, I have to say it, this Jew will not understand what it means to be in Nietzsche's Zarathustra. So very reluctantly, in the end, he said, well, I am coming. And then he heard the music and he was lost. He was completely lost. And I think that the friendship maybe to Diepenbrock went even deeper than the friendship to Mengelberg, because it was the conductors. But Diepenbrock was a man you could talk to, and also the exchange of letters. And Diepenbrock also managed to conduct his Mahler's Fourth Symphony and write a very good analysis. And it was so beautiful that Mahler wrote to Diepenbrock, I could have done it better myself. You know exactly how I feel. And this is something he tells not about, because, you know, Mengelberg and Mahler, they were congenious. And they were working together, but the profoundness of the friendship to Diepenbrock, I think, went even deeper.
Well, I think it speaks to Mahler's deeply philosophical nature. I mean, he had found someone here who was
who we could
writer,
talk to. Yes.
Yeah, who he could talk to about things that beyond music that really.
He certainly did. And you know that when there was a meal at any home, he always said, and Diepenbrock had to sit next to me. Not only because but maybe also because it gave him support.
Yeah.
You know, Mahler had also a shy side of his character.
Yeah.
And he was well, everyone, of course, was talking Dutch, and Diepenbrock, and they talk in German.
Yeah.
So he felt at home. And
Yeah.
it's very special.
Yeah. Well, we have to get an impression of what this meant, because it's on the personal and professional ties that we've just talked about, because the impact on Mahler and of Mahler in subsequent years was enormous.
Nice.
I've looked at this. We'll talk about the book in a moment, and I've refreshed my memory. Mahler came 4 times in 1903 and 1904,
Yes.
in 1906 and 1909, and
Yes.
over the course of those visits, conducted 11 concerts. And he conducted symphonies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7, plus Kindertotenlieder and das klagende Lied, which is extraordinary. Those were all of the works he had basically written, with one exception, and premiered by 1909. So he
Yes.
brought his oeuvre to Holland, and it's the most diverse collection of concerts of Mahler conducting Mahler in any other place. There's nothing like it.
No, and then you showed already the very interesting feature of the Mahler fourth, which he calls the eggs, Columbus eggs, because the Mahler four went twice. And here comes in misreading, like we have more with Mahler, the misreading that people thought it was conducted once by Mahler and once by Mengelberg, which would be very appropriate. No, Mahler conducted both his performances, and he says, I would have loved that it happens more like this. And then
I think we've got to say this again, Eveline. It was a little bit difficult to catch.
Okay.
This is one concert,
yeah,
where Mahler conducted in the first half he
symphony?
conducted the Fourth Symphony, and in the second half he conducted the Fourth Symphony again.
Yeah, and he said this is something we should do more often. And then I think about the coming Mahler Festival, where we have the possibility of listening twice to the same music. Well, it was not planned maybe, but he was so happy about it. And it went very well, and the audience liked it, and the press liked it. So it was a good start.
Yeah, he had a very different experience when it came to many of his premieres and repeated performances in other cities, including Vienna. In Vienna, the Fourth Symphony did not go over very well at all. And so it must have been delightful for him to go in front of an audience and then to have won them over and to come with basically the rest of his major works. And not only that, but during the course in Mahler's lifetime, other conductors conducted his works as well. There were 30 more concerts in Holland during Mahler's lifetime. 30 more.
Incredible. It's incredible. And you can see, if we come to the book, you can see at the end of the book all the Mahler concerts, and also many of them. Mahler came and gave the premiere, and afterwards Mengelberg took the symphony all around, and so it was not really rubbed in, but people could come very close to the music and the meaning of Mahler and the importance of his music. And we still have this feeling. I think, for instance, Van Gogh, he is a Dutch painter, but the French has more or less take him as their painter. So we have Mahler, which is Austrian or Bohemian, and we consider Mahler our Mahler. He's ours. And you can, when you now come to Amsterdam, of course, it's the festival, and if you ask people around, of course, the whole, whom they like most, and they will all say Mahler, because that's why they come.
It's a lasting legacy, which is really
it's a lasting legacy, and also because of the scores. Because I think you have a beautiful picture of the scores, the Mengelberg scores, which is, of course, that's the legacy.
We're going to get to that in a moment.
Okay.
I just also wanted to mention that it wasn't just Amsterdam. There were performances in Arnhem, Den Haag, Rotterdam, Haarlem, and Scheveningen. I'm not sure.
Scheveningen.
Yes. And not just Mengelberg, but also, of course, Diepenbrock. You mentioned also Heukerot and Viotta, Doppa.
And but what is interesting, that was Scharrer who came, that Heukerot took the Mahler third as a premiere. Scharrer went to Scheveningen and he put the fifth also before Mahler and Mengelberg. This is so interesting.
Yeah, the Fifth Symphony.
So it was premiered before it went to Amsterdam.
But
it's so funny.
But he was
not with the concerto. He does not with
No,
the Concertgebouw
no, it was
Orchestra.
with the
No, no,
Berlin
no.
Philharmonic, I think.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
invited. But imagine we are building on the tradition, yeah, and in fly comes the Berlin Philharmonic with them and said, "Oh no, we are the first with the fifth."
Yeah. Yeah, that's trying to beat
That's
Mahler at
very
his own
funny. It's
game.
very
That's not
funny.
nice. Yeah.
Well, it's
So
not.
there was a tremendous popular reception. There must have been. You couldn't have done these concerts. And of course, the critical reception must have been very positive too, right?
Well, not always. We have examples. Some of the critics were very positive and some of the critics were very negative. And also in the public, it was not that they were throwing eggs to everybody, but there was the division in the audience. And some said, well, this is wonderful music. Of course, the groupies, but also other people. But there were some people who said, we don't understand this music and it's so loud. It's so much, it's so heavy. There's happening so much, and we cannot give me a Beethoven. I can understand a Beethoven, give me a Mozart, but not this. Even they preferred Richard Strauss.
Yeah.
Not talking about the largest of the orchestra, but
Yeah.
with Strauss, they felt more comfortable. They could follow the line, they could follow the program music. And with Mahler, they felt very often they felt lost. And I'm happy they did not hear the Sixth Symphony, because I think when he would have introduced the sixth year, everybody would have said, oh my God, how deep can feelings go?
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. I mean, Mahler
Yeah.
only conducted the Sixth 3 times in his life. And he lived quite a few more years after the premiere. So it's a piece that he too avoided.
Yeah, well, he wanted to do, but it did not fix in with the planning of the Concertgebouw. But he was even writing up, shall I bring the Herdenglocke, shall I bring the Celesta? It was planned perfectly, but it didn't succeed. And then it took Mengelberg until 1916 to dare to conduct the sixth. So this tells something about how difficult, how moving, how very, I mean, it goes the deepest next to the ninth into the feelings of the people.
Yeah.
And they have,
Yeah.
when they hear this changing of the Mahler and the major to the Mahler, it's hard to understand,
Yeah.
even at
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well, we did have a photo of the premiere in Holland of the Eighth Symphony, which of course hadn't been premiered by 1909. That came in 1910. But in 1912, I think we have a
Yes.
photo of Mengelberg and the Concertgebouw Orchestra in the hall for the premiere of the Eighth, the Dutch premiere of the Eighth Symphony. There we go. Yeah.
There it is, yeah. And you
Yeah.
see the beautiful building where now the Mahler Festival will take
That's
place
right. That's
again.
where the Mahler
Oh,
Festival will be.
with the
Unchanged.
eighth, and including the Eighth Symphony.
Of course, including the Eighth Symphony.
Even twice.
So just a reminder, if you're with us live, feel free to send us questions through the chat. We'll be happy to answer those in a Q&A at the end of the hour. All right, well, this takes us to the book, doesn't it, Eveline? A book that just came out called Mahler and the Netherlands. And it has a subtitle, A Second Musical Home for Me, which is what you alluded to just now. It seems that he was very, very supported by especially Mengelberg and was given a platform for presenting these pieces. Oh, and this is the photo we mentioned of them taking a walk.
And you see
It's the,
he's talking to Diepenbrock.
that's right. So
Mengelberg is walking on his own and he's thinking, maybe he was longing for a cigar or something like that. And those people, they are not, it's not pleasantry, they're really talking.
yeah.
And Diepenbrock is listening because it is for him when Mahler became more like God. So he's listening what he's telling. And it's
Yeah.
very interesting. If you go deeper into this photograph, you see three people. Yeah. Mengelberg, the conductor, the one who owns more or less the Concertgebouw. He walks on his own and he is also like a peasant. He doesn't look like a conductor, but the way that he separates himself from the other two, it makes his stature. And then the other two are like friends, but friends with a sincere attitude to talking.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a wonderful
It's
photo.
it's a wonderful photo.
And there are accounts of people taking walks with Mahler, including this bunch, where he would walk ahead or behind, totally lost his own thoughts. He would spend a lot of time not engaging people, and that was just what you had to accept if you wanted to go on a walk with Mahler.
That's right. Well, as I told you, he was in somewhere. He was also shy, or he was fed up with all those people. There's one of the story. There was a dinner, and it was not yet finished, but he left. He said, "I'm going out,"
Yeah,
and
I've had enough.
nobody said anything about it, because he was Mahler. But he was not. I mean, he was not not very
Well,
nice to everyone.
he did not
Did
like
not like
society for
company. No,
society's sake.
no,
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 that was
no,
not his scene.
no.
Before we go to the next photo, we should mention that, to get back to this is a publication of the Dutch Gustav Mahler Foundation, and another example of what your group is doing. But we should also add that this is the translation into English of a German language book that
Yes.
was published by Edward Reser, called Gustav Mahler and Holland, Briefe, that was published in German by the International Gustav Mahler Society in
Can you
1980.
see it?
Yeah, yeah, we have the cover here on the
Okay.
screen.
I brought especially for you. Now, this
So
was it. And it is a translation, but it has been enlarged with two letters and with beautiful photographs. But in I think 90 or 92% is what is also in the German book. But why? You will ask me, why did you decide to translate it? Well, the world has changed. Not many people speak German anymore, and there's a large interest in Mahler from the English-speaking society, all the Mahler societies.
yeah,
So we decided also a long time ago, I think about 10 years ago, Louis Eckstein and me, we discussed with Fritz Schwartz, is it not time to translate? But it takes time, it takes money, and it takes good people to translate. And I think it's wonderfully done. All the
yes,
annotations are more than perfect, and
yeah,
it looks lovely. I can recommend it to everyone, and we
yes.
are very proud. You can
I
order
can
it.
too. I've read it and enjoyed it very much, and it's
Yeah.
and I don't think it's insubstantial, the photographs, because they tell many stories, and you've added, of course, the original publication had not, I don't think, a single photograph,
Only
and
two
it gives a
photographs.
much deeper sense of the place and time and the people involved. So no, it's a wonderful, wonderful book. So it has photographs, we talked about. It has letters. What else does it have?
Well, what it has, and it was also in the Razor book, one of the most interesting stories, and we talked about it yesterday, is the meeting of Mengelberg with Marion von Weber.
Yeah.
And imagine you go and you convert, and he says it's the Enkelin, but of course she was not a granddaughter, but she was married to the grandson. And in the beginning, she was very reluctant. Oh, you're coming. And then he said, I'm a friend of Gustav Mahler. And then she said, oh, that's interesting. Would you like to see some of his scores that I have here? And what happened is she showed him Waldmärchen. By that time, Mahler himself, he had skipped the first half part of his klagende lied. But then we knew that it exists. There is a Waldmärchen. She showed him Blumine, and at that time it was the second movement of the first symphony, but Mahler had taken it away, and she was blushing, and then you could see that it was from M to M, so it was meant for her personally.
I think, excuse me, we have to fill this out a little bit more, Eveline. I mean, you and I and many Mahler people know what you're referring to, but I think we have to really tell a little bit more about the connection there.
Well, it is by chance, I think, Mengelberg decided to pay a visit to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, between Mahler and Marion von Weber. I think we just have to say briefly that when Mahler was living in Leipzig, he fell in love with Marion.
Oh, you mean that? Yeah.
And they probably had an affair, and he wanted to elope with her. And while he was writing the first symphony, he dedicated the second movement at that time, Blumine, and gave her a score on her birthday, as I recall, as a token of his love. And when many years later Mengelberg visits her, she comes out with this score. That's why she turns red, because she, of course, remembers the context in which this music was produced.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yes.
But there was another thing, and I have been looking for 4 symphonies which were not there, because it's Mengelberg writes. We saw musical examples, and we saw 2 till 6. So everybody presumed there must be 4 lost symphonies by Mahler, but it was not 2 to 6, but it was zum Beispiel, for example. But you know, I was so interested that I took a train to Berlin. I had a paid a visit to the library there. And we searched, because I was hoping to find the 4 lost symphonies in the Nachlass from Weber, but all was bombed and there was nothing to be found. But not only me, I know there are several musicologists who were hoping to find, but it was just a slip of the pen of Mengelberg. But it gave us trouble.
Yeah.
But this love story is beautiful.
Mengelberg is another very important historic witness, though, and one of the most fascinating, some of the most fascinating pages in this book are the reproductions of some of the pages from his scores.
Yes.
And let's have a look at. I think we have a couple here with some details as well. Let's take a look at. This is, I think, the instrumentation for the 4th symphony. And there you see it. What kind of a incredible mess! And he is using this score and writing on it as a conductor, but also very important as a witness, as a historical witness. And if we get the close up, I'll just show this briefly to everybody. What he writes here is very important. He says here, alle Bemerkungen machte Mahler selbst in den Proben in Amsterdam. You can see that here in the middle of the screen. All comments were made by Mahler himself in the rehearsals in Amsterdam. So he wants you to know that what he's writing down here as commentary to the works are from Mahler himself. And of course, that's a very rare perspective on the scores, on the music, and on Mahler that is preserved in these very few and precious printed scores that, of course, Mengelberg used for his own purposes as well.
Yes, and the scoring, you see how many minutes.
Yes,
Mengelberg always timed exactly how long it would be. And if you would look further down in the score, you would see that the red marks are by Mahler. It were not so many in this symphony, but for instance, the 5th, he had sent his score to Mengelberg, and he asked the score back. He said, I have to make some alterations, and he sent it back. So we can follow very well how Mahler also adapted his scores to the hall he was working in, or the orchestra in. And Mengelberg was, I think, for all of the people who work with Mahler, they should know what this is. But on the other hand, by the time that we have later on maybe a piece of the Adagietto, by the time that we had a recording of Mengelberg, of course, Mahler was already dead, but we still have the scores, which give us the best sight into the meaning for Mahler himself.
Yeah. We do have a photo of that page of the Adagietto.
Yes.
And there it is.
No, that's the 4th. No, that's the 4th.
Sorry, no, we had it.
Oh,
I think
here it is. Yeah, it comes here. Here it is.
Yeah, there it is. And you'll see very famously there on the left there, next to the first violin part, you see a little poem that Mengelberg claimed.
Wie ich dich liebe, yes.
Yeah, Wie ich dich liebe, which actually fits very well to the melody.
Yeah.
And how are we to interpret that poem and the melody and the fact that they match? And he claims that he wrote this down listening to Mahler speak.
Well, he writes something about Alma told me. Well, that is something, when has Alma told him? Because she was not around. Maybe she told him later on that it was meant for her. But it's beautiful, and you can sing it more or less, and there is a truth in it that it is a love. poem,
Love.
and
Yes.
the music is a love story. And we talked about it yesterday, that by the time that we had this famous film, Death in Venice, where the adagietto played also a role, it became more or less a funeral adagietto. And it took many,
Associated
many
with
years.
death.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it took many, many years for people to realize, because of this poem, that it was not a funeral adagietto, taking very often with Mahler, that you say, oh, well, this is a kind of music to bring people to the grave. No, it's just a love poem.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's believable enough that he would have written this in honor of her and his love for
Sure,
her. Whether
sure.
the words are exactly, and of course, taking Alma's word for word rendering of this might be going too far, but I think the sentiment is absolutely clear. And it's also important to point out that this melody becomes the triumphant melody of the finale. This
Exactly.
melody comes back, and it
That's
comes
that's
back in
love. That's
Allegro.
love. Yeah, that's love.
That's right.
Yeah,
And it's the triumph of love, as I
yeah.
will be talking about in Amsterdam. We also have a recording of Mengelberg conducting the adagietto, as you said, after Mahler died. I think we need to hear the recording. There we go.
Oh, well, yeah, that's but what you notice maybe, and it's also maybe for people watching now, this is typical of that time, the way that we have the portamenti,
Yes.
whoop, whoop. So but it gives a kind of flow.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You go with the flow, and he goes with the flow, and the whole of the adagietto is in a flow,
Yeah.
and you cannot time it. You don't feel time. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
It's
I know
true.
it's only 7.5 minutes,
Yeah.
but it sounds as if it's one big love poem. It's
I,
wonderful.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and I think that you said something about the timing, 7.5 minutes. I mean, that's fast compared to a lot of other
Yes,
performances. And Mengelberg was his own performer and his own interpreter, but he was also informed by hearing Mahler conduct it himself in ways that perhaps we might take note of today. It's an
I
interesting
think we should. I
perspective.
mean, it's not maybe by the time that the film of the Death in Venice had been shown, that people thought, oh, this has to do with death, so we take it slower. Maybe, I don't know, I cannot look
Yeah,
into it,
yeah,
but it
maybe
might be.
that's
And that by the time that we got this misinformation to the
yeah,
people and said, but it's not a funeral
yeah,
music, it's
yeah,
love. And that
yeah.
changed. And by now, even I'm very curious about the tempo that we will hear in Amsterdam. Shall we
Yes, there are
take a
lots
what?
of
We take our watches?
pick our watches, yes, and we'll make note of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we get to Amsterdam, just one more resource that we had on the screen here. I wanted to show everyone about Mahler in Amsterdam. There is a website dedicated to this as well, not just the book. And I wanted to show that to our audiences, and so they could take note of the URL. In case you're interested, there's lots of information, of course, also in the book. The book is mostly letters, and this website goes into other kinds of details as well. So this really gives you a wonderful set of resources, these two books, this book and this website. But now let's talk about the festival, because the festival relates directly to what we've been talking about the whole time. And that is, once again, Willem Mengelberg, who in 1920 organized the first Mahler Festival, International Mahler Festival.
Well, you can see, and it was, it was offered to him by his orchestra. He was 25 years he served the orchestra so well. They said, can we offer you a Rolls Royce, or would you rather prefer a Mercedes or something like that? And a lot of champagne. He said, no. The only thing I want is a Mahlerfest. I want a festivities to celebrate the importance of my colleague and friend, Gustav Mahler. And that is so interesting because one conductor and one orchestra played the whole of the cycle.
Wow.
This is incredible.
Every
This
year.
is
Yeah,
incredible. This is
that's
incredible.
incredible. There were also some prominent guests at the festival. We have a photo of the guests, and if you look carefully, you'll see Arnold Schoenberg and uh, Alma Mahler there at the center and at the bottom, and to the right, it's Alma with Mengelberg.
Yeah, and I think they are going on a tour on the canal. Because this is
Okay.
something, if you go to Amsterdam, and you are going, and Marina as well, take
Yes,
a trip on the canal.
yes,
It's so beautiful. I mean,
yeah,
it's gorgeous weather. I hope it will stay. But
yeah,
they also, it was a festival. It was ein Fest.
yeah,
Everybody had this feeling, we are friends. It was a whole bunch of important people with music in their heart, and they could discuss during the festival. They could talk together and exchange ideas. I hope that we will have the same possibility when we are there, that we can join each other. And Marina, I'm coming, I know where you're staying in the hotel, and you too, Morten. So we can exchange and tell each other what we have felt or
yeah,
still feel about this festival, and about the idea, that
yeah.
great idea of Mengelberg. At that time, it's incredible.
Well, it's especially poignant because this is 1920. This is just after the First World War,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
these nations had been battling and where people died in just these horrific ways. And so and there was a manifesto signed by composers about building bridges to unite the
yeah,
people. This was
yeah,
part of the
yeah,
message of the whole festival.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so it went beyond merely the music. But that tradition lives on. And in 1995, there was another Mahler Festival. You've already mentioned that. And this year, after cancellation in 2020, which would have been the 100th anniversary of the first festival, we're
Yeah.
coming back in 2025 with this year's version of the great festival. And so what are we going to experience from the 8th to the
Well,
18th of May?
well, you asked me the question yesterday. Well, there are all the symphonies will be played from the 10th symphony, only the Adagio, the first movement, the Adagio. But what I'm looking forward to is the combination of the 6th and the 7th symphony conducted by Jaap van Zweden. And why? Because many years ago, I got a phone call from Jaap, and he said, Eveline, can you come over? I have an idea. We should put in one day the 6th and the 7th symphony, because I feel that they are connected and they are a kind of bridge from darkness to light. So we had several meetings, and finally we had a concert where in the afternoon we played the 6th, and in the evening we played the 7th. Well, this will be not on the same day, but the idea behind it, that the conductor himself feels that there is so much connection between the 6th and the 7th, and that he is invited now to the hall to take these two symphonies. He knows all the symphonies. I know I have that's so much, but these have a very special place in his heart. So this is one of the moments I'm looking forward to. And I saw that the concert of the 7th is totally sold out. The 7th, that's not the first symphony you would think of going to if you hear Mahler for the first time. That's
No,
interesting.
no. And Mahler brought it to Amsterdam. But let's talk about the whole festival because we have all of the symphonies and we have many of the songs. Do we have all of the
Yes.
songs? We
Well,
have
we
all
have
of them?
this, yeah, we have the songs. We have not all the in concert. We have the Kindertoten and the Jugendlieder, but we have in small hall, our small hall, we have the Wunderhornlieder, and it's interesting. Was an idea of Julius Drake to invite young singers, male and female, to give their impression on the Wunderhorn songs, and
Yeah.
I bought the tickets. And if you
Yeah.
still have time, or you are in Amsterdam and you did not know about these concerts, I can
Yeah.
recommend them because
Yeah.
they are an introduction to the great Mahler
Yeah.
happening.
And you can see it's not just the music in the hall, the large hall and the small hall. You can see there on your screen that there are other kinds of components. There's a pavilion that's been set up in one of the parks, not the park right in front of the Concertgebouw, but not too
That was
far
too
away.
expensive.
Yeah, it was too expensive. But there is a pavilion where they will have a screen, and you can watch all of the concerts live from the pavilion. And there will also be a streaming service for the major concerts as well. So you can watch these online, which is a tremendous,
Yeah.
tremendous opportunity for people around the world that, of course, can't come. And for those of you watching and listening, it's hard to get tickets, and it was hard to get tickets already a year ago. So the frustration is understandable, but here it looks like they're going to give us an opportunity, at least those who can't attend, to hear it live on live stream, which is tremendous opportunity for
May I tell you something? And maybe you did
Sure.
not know. Well, during the performance of the Fourth Symphony, the streaming, part of our Mahler film, the Mahler monologues, will be
Right,
shown. Isn't that
right,
wonderful? I just got yesterday, I got the credits that they're going to show it. And they are going to show it on television on the 9th in the afternoon, the whole of the film.
right. So
So I'm happy.
you have to tell us briefly what that is, Eveline, because people
Well,
don't
I
necessarily
will
know.
tell you now. Well, I had a plan that I wanted to share with you who Mahler was. So we found a wonderful actor. I prepared the text. My colleague Joost Honser, I made the film. And the man in center, Mahler, is Gijs Scholte van Aschat. And you know, Marina, you saw the film. He is impersonating Mahler in such a wonderful way that by the end of the film, you feel has become Mahler. It's very ergreifend. It's very emotional.
Yeah.
And part of it will be shown because we have only 25 minutes. But maybe in future, Morten, we can have it also shown here.
We are going to do this. I
Yeah.
can announce this today. After our July 7th, our birthday show, this coming Mahler Hour in July, we will be showing the Mahler monologues in the full length. I think it's 55 minutes or something like that.
No, 37.
37. Okay, well, it's longer than the 25 you've been given, but you'll
No,
see
yeah,
you'll see the whole film right after the Mahler Hour on the 7th of July, coming up on our YouTube channel.
Okay, well, wonderful. Yeah.
Just to finish off the events of the Mahler Festival, I will be giving pre-concert talks every evening for all of the 10 symphonies and 10 and a half symphonies. Actually, not 9.5, but it's 10 and a half symphonies, 10 numbered symphonies and das Lied von der Erde. And that will be from 7 to 7:45, and the concerts begin there at 8 in the large hall. I look forward to seeing any and all of you who are there. If you want to come and see the pre-concert talk, and please stop by. What did you say, Maria?
No, it's at 8:15, 8:15, not at 8 o'clock.
Oh, the concerts themselves are 8:15.
Yeah.
And we're going to have Mahler Foundation is going to present a very, very special concert
Here they are.
called Mahler Beyond. And these are now available. This is on the May 17th. Tickets are now available online as part of the festival. You can purchase them there. And it is as you can see from the announcement, we're going to be presenting a world premiere by Sebastian Bach. We're going to have Mahler Award given to John Warner, who will be leading this European ensemble, the New European Ensemble, in a performance also of Warner's arrangement of the Fourth Symphony. In addition, I will be interviewing Marina Mahler, Gustav Mahler's granddaughter, and Simon Reining, the head of the Concertgebouw. So if you are around and you're still looking for opportunities at the festival, that's on May 17th. And we will also be sending that over our channels. We're hoping we can do that with a live stream on the 17th of May. If not, we'll give it as a special, we'll send it out as a special edition of the Mahler Hour shortly thereafter around Mahler's Death Day, as you know, May 18th is when we tend to have an event every year as well.
You can
All
you
right.
can congratulate me to my birthday because my birthday is on the 17th.
And mine's on the 21st, so
Yeah,
we
you see,
share
well,
we share
you
another.
share a
Yes.
lot. No, but
Let's turn to our audiences. We have a little bit of time here at the end of our show, and I have some questions online. I have quite a few questions online. Alejandro Rutia from Chile is writing, is it possible to have access to the scores of Mengelberg's Mahler symphony scores? Are they
you mean
available?
online? Yeah. No,
Yeah.
they're not yet, as far as I know, they're not yet microfilmed. But I think that they're working on it because it's so important that everybody can see. Maybe they think it's our greatest treasure. We should get it. But you should contact Frits Zwart about the procedures of the score. For now, you can go to The Hague, to the Dutch Institute, and you can see and feel how it is to have this course. And the other thing is that in the Concertgebouw, in the attics, we still have all the parties for the orchestra, and still the originals.
Oh,
And
right. Yeah.
yeah, and when we had this the first the performance of the Mahler Fifth in more or less original style, they played from the scores. They had to they dared to show them, yeah. But you could see it was you should be careful to touch them, but you see all the annotations in the
Yeah.
parties. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
It's really a treasure.
Raymond Chan from Toronto writes, did Mahler say why he wants to have the Fourth Symphony performed twice at the same concert? Was this arrangement common at the time? It's hard to imagine an orchestra doing it now.
Well, it was not the idea of Mahler, it was the idea of Mengelberg. And that's where the problem shows that people say, oh, well, it's Mengelberg's idea. So one is conducted by Mahler and one is conducted by Mengelberg. And he says that it was the best way to introduce, but it was the idea of Mengelberg. It was not the idea of Mahler.
Mm.
Okay.
I do have to say, though, that performing works twice was a tradition that Arnold Schoenberg introduced with his orchestra for his Society for Modern Music. And there were several rules of that society: no critics, no applause, and
No,
everything
no.
is performed twice. And so for new music, this was an approach that was
Yeah.
already being tried out. So at the
Maybe
time,
it was, but maybe it was because of that. But it is,
yeah,
I mean, it is a short, well, it's not a short symphony, but it is a normal length of the symphony, and it is still approachable. If you have people, you want to introduce people to the music of Mahler, don't play the third. Well, it's flabbergasting, but take the fourth, and of course the slow movement, the beauty of the slow movement. It's so moving. It's one of the most beautiful pieces that Mahler ever wrote. And do you know that Diepenbrock, he made a piano transcription, a beautiful transcription of them, and we published it as a
sorry,
Mahler
of
Society.
what did he give you? What?
Of the third movement. In the Fourth Symphony, there's a slow movement
The third movement of the Fourth Symphony.
of the
Okay.
Fourth Symphony, and Diepenbrock made a score, a piano score of it.
Hmm.
So this
Yeah,
was
that's interesting. I
that's
didn't
just
know that.
Diepenbrock. That's Diepenbrock, you know.
Yeah. Here's another question. Sixtus Beckmesser writes, interesting that the portamenti and the adagietto aren't in Mengelberg's markings.
No.
To me, this implies that they are an inherent part of performance practice, even at the date of the recording.
Yes, it was. It was still all the Mengelberg performances, also as Beethoven, even in his Matthäus, he is always playing with the portamenti.
Yes.
It was a
So
style. It was a style at that time. He was not the only one, but
no,
because
by far, by
by
far.
far, well,
And in fact, we did a Mahler Hour some time ago about Mahler and performance practice.
yes.
For those who want to know more, it was a wonderful, wonderful show. Another question. This is signed Skidoo 22. The first movement of the seventh is a symphonic poem or musical portrait of his hiking trips in the Dolomites. That doesn't seem to be a question. It seems more of a statement.
It's a good remark. It's a good remark, but it starts with the rowing. It doesn't start in the mountains. It starts with the rowing of the boat. You know, this very funny that he
Yes, of
writes to
course.
Alma.
Yes.
But for the audience, he was in a kind of writer's block.
Yes.
And he was working on the 7th, and it didn't come, and it didn't come. And then he took the rowboat, and he rowed over, and he wrote to Alma, finally, I know how I have to start, and it's this movement. It's the rowing, blah, 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 and of course, he wrote missing, some water splashing. And later on, of course, when we come to the final movement, and the light is coming, that's like Alpen Symphony, sorry, Strauss.
Yeah.
The bright sun coming.
Sure.
But the beginning is not in the mountains. He still
Yeah,
has to row.
Again, it's not a question. It seems more of a statement and perhaps conjecture, but
it's
that's
nice,
one way to look
I
at
like it. I like it.
Yeah, yeah. Raymond Chan writes another comment now, which is very, very apropos. How do we get a hold of the book? So I think we need to tell people how they can order this, Eveline.
Well, you can go to our website, which
Can you say what our website is?
It's www.Gustav Mahler Stichting Nederland, and it's difficult. We should have published it before.
We have your logo, and I think we have your URL earlier in the show. We posted it.
And yes, and it's 35 euro, but of course there comes the posting.
There it is.
But if you may, I will take some of them to Amsterdam. I have decided to take a bunch of them. And if you see me and you want to have the book, you can contact me.
Right.
I will. Yeah. How do I?
And if you're not in Amsterdam for the festival, you see it on your screen.
You can order it. Yeah, you can order it.
You can see it on your screen. Yeah. Very good question. Very important question.
Thank you for it. And I hope you will buy the book because it's done so wonderfully.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And at the beginning, I gave praise to my professor Reza, because he was the one who stimulated me with the musicology, and so it's a kind of in memoriam also for my professor.
So I have two questions from Anthony Rauman in the UK. What were the influences on Dutch musical tastes before Mahler, and why did Mahler fire the Dutch imagination?
I don't know if I understand what you mean. Well, the Dutch imagination before Mahler was Richard Strauss. We were very much in Strauss, and Strauss came very often, and even he dedicated his Heldenleben to the Concertgebouw Orchestra. But I don't know, what is the fire? What do you mean, Anthony, with the fire?
Well, their enthusiasm. Why were they so enthusiastic about Mahler?
Why the Dutch people feel so much? I think we are in a way, we are very emotional. It doesn't show maybe that the Dutch people are emotional, and they like to have something new. We are still today, when there's something new, we grab it and we walk around and we taste, and so it must have been in the air. And of course, you were talking. And have you you should go to the concert of Mahler. Now, it's totally different from Richard Strauss, but it's also nice to listen to.
Yeah, and we talked about Mengelberg as an historical witness and as a conductor witnessing Mahler's conducting style. And the next question from Anthony, I think, touches on that. How do you view Mengelberg's interpretation of the performance of Mahler's symphonies compared to Bruno Walter?
Well, we have nothing. We only have the Adagietto, and of course we have the Assemblische Leben and some of the Gesellenlieder, but that's all we have. We have so little of what, and he did not make recordings.
You're talking about Mengelberg.
Yes, that was his question. But there's nothing about those three things. But I wonder why he did not put some of the symphonies on, because he made recordings of all the Beethovens, of the Tchaikovsky, but not of the Mahler. Maybe after the festival, I cannot say that it died. The interest in Mahler went down and more down, and Mengelberg, of course, he took also the Mahler abroad. But it seems as if we were not fed up, but we had so much Mahler, also coming up with Mengelberg, conducting, finishing in 1920. that afterwards, maybe people thought, we've had enough for now.
When is that recording of that Jetto? Do you know?
I think it is 36.
Yeah.
It's late.
Yeah.
But it is still, as I can imagine, that it must have sounded with the beautiful portamenti, because it was the style at that time. And in 1936, maybe portamenti were not so much in
fashion.
In fashion. I don't know, because I was not born then, but it's
Yeah.
a good question. And I'm sorry, Anthony, I don't know. I can
Well,
only imagine that it was too much.
Yeah, if we had more of Mengelberg, we could make maybe a fair comparison.
Yes. Well, I have
Right.
just one thing. I have made a comparison in listening and writing between the Adagietto by Mengelberg and the Adagietto by Bruno Walter. And the Walter is very, very normal, you know, and very straightforward. No annotations. And if you look at the Adagietto with Mengelberg, it overflows with feelings, etc. So this tells me something. Two pupils, the most intimate of Mahler, who had two totally different visions of Mahler.
Yeah, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting because, of course, as you say, they were both very close to him. They were both conductors, and they both had opportunities to perform. Of course, famously, Walter did, and he performed the world premieres then of the Ninth Symphony and Das Lied von der Erde after Mahler passed away, who had never heard those masterpieces.
And you know that Alma writes to Mengelberg that she was so sorry that he could not. That she says, I know it was meant by Gustav that you should do so. Well, it didn't happen, but this was a moment of friction between the two conductors.
Oh, I did not know that. The two had problems.
Well, they were like two dogs fighting for the same, and Mengelberg was not amused.
And Mahler was a rare commodity, and whose Mahler was it? Yeah.
It's like, do we have two popes, and which pope is the real pope?
Well, it's an appropriate ending, perhaps. We're going to have to stop there. We're at the top of the hour. I want to thank you very much, Eveline, for joining us. And I will, of course, be seeing you very soon. And for our audience, I have just one announcement for this year's July edition of the Mahler Hour. We will again be celebrating Gustav's birthday. So send us your birthday greeting to social@mahlerfoundation.org. We'll have more to say about that. And right after that show, we'll be sending you the Mahler monologues produced by the Dutch Gustav Mahler Foundation. The Mahler Hour, brought to you by Mahler Foundation and contributors around the world, is a monthly streaming event bringing together individuals interested in the composer, the thinker, the humanist Gustav Mahler, as we explore not only his life and works, but also how his legacy still informs essential aspects of the human experience, and how we can turn that experience into a force for the good in today's world. Become a member and support our activities. I want to thank my guest today, Eveline Nikkels, for joining us, as well as our production team, Marco Ayala, and Monica Anguiano, our executive director for administration. As already mentioned, the Mahler Hour is back next month, live from the Mahler Festival at the Concertgebouw in Amsterdam, with a concert, award ceremony, and interviews on the 17th of May. I hope you can join us. That's our program for today. Stay safe. Thanks for watching.
And thank you, Morten.